Okay, welcome to the Ourlads Gambling Show. I am Ryan Rich Fat Baby McKee, and I am joined, as always, by the Duke of Depth Charts, Tucker Moss from Ourlads. And today we have a very special guest. He used to do a show called Gambling with Gold. It's Jason Gold. How are you doing, Jason?
I'm doing absolutely fabulous. Thank you guys for having me. Excited to talk about some NFL futures. Let's get into it.
Yeah, Jason and I used to work together at a company called Champions Round, and that's where I learned his gambling prowess and all that he knows. So I'm excited to get into it. Today, we are going to be talking about 4 topics. We're going to start with the starting QB odds. We're going to do stat leaders futures. We are going to then jump into the NFL awards futures, and finally end with some Super Bowl conference division winner futures. So it's all futures today. It's the off season. That's what we got to do. Before we jump into it, Jason, how are you feeling about the Netflix Christmas Day games?
I'm hyped for it. I thought it was a totally smart decision for them to get another streamer involved. I'm sure Amazon wasn't super happy about it. But
no.
You know, not only do they get to own Christmas over the NBA, but now they've made it impossible for you to flip back and forth between NBA games because you have to be on Netflix. So genius marketing strategy for them. It'll be a big win.
I didn't even think about that. Good way to think about that.
Yeah, so unless you have multiple TVs, you're not flipping back and forth, which is exactly how Netflix wants it. I thought it was a super good deal for them. And, it fits exactly what Netflix wants. They only want to own one day. They want these small specials. They don't want to dive headfirst into sports. They want a little taster. Totally makes sense.
Absolutely. Also, I thought we were going to have Steffi Smalls on this show. Wanted to get her reaction to this, but I'll go ahead and get Tucker and Jason's reaction. How are you feeling about the Giants being named as the Hard Knocks first off-season show? It's going to debut on July 2nd on Max. I don't know. Do we fall in love with Daniel Jones again? What are we thinking?
Tucker, you want to take that first?
Tucker, go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty. At first I was like, what did they really do this offseason? But they did have some exciting stuff go down, like with the Brian Burns trade, getting Neighbors at 6, and like trying to trade up in the draft. So they had some pretty cool stuff that went on. I want to see like what they focus on during it, if it's all like draft stuff or how much they do free agency. I'm excited for it.
Yeah,
I don't know. I'm definitely excited for it. I thought it was great to add this to the lineup because now you have the off season, you have training camp, and then they do the full in-season ones. They kind of have year-round football involved with Hard Knocks, so super great. And I'm a sucker for those YouTube videos right after the draft where the teams kind of take you through their process and how they
those are amazing. I love those so much.
So I'm hoping that this is like a full 5-week, 4-week, whatever long this is version of that. I'll be all in.
Yeah, I'm all in too. I think Dayball will be a good Hard Knocks coach, right? Like he's already a pretty charismatic guy, interesting guy. I think I'll be excited to see him on camera. What do you think, Jason?
He'll be great. Joe Shane doesn't strike me as someone who's going to be great on camera, but maybe I'll be surprised a little bit. I know Steph loves her big daddy, Joe Shane. So maybe he'll get a little good publicity out of this one.
Awesome. All right. And Jason, before we get started, tell people where they can find you on Twitter or anything else you want to plug before we jump into these odds.
Yeah, if you want any gambling picks during the NFL season, hit me up at JasonGold24 on Twitter.
Awesome. All right. We're going to start with the starting QB odds. I'm going to start it off and ask you, Jason, about and this is something that Tucker, you should definitely chime into on as well, because you know the depth charts better than anybody. Las Vegas Raiders, Gardner Minshew to be the starter is at -200. That just dropped from -300. I'm not sure why. Aiden O'Connell +140. Where are we thinking the Raiders go? And are you even touching any of these bets, Jason?
I'm definitely touching some of these bets. We'll run through all of them, I'm sure, when we get to this. In terms of Las Vegas, though, I saw the number yesterday at 225 for Minshew and plus 140 for O'Connell, and I think it's probably worth a sprinkle on O'Connell as we get later into training camp. I'm not saying that Minshew isn't the starter going in right now, but O'Connell's a young guy. He could have made a big jump from year 1 to year 2. Familiar with Antonio Pierce, he may have trust in him. I'm just not sure it's a lock that Minshew is going to be the starting quarterback here. I wouldn't necessarily bet this just yet, but my lean would be the values on O'Connell right now.
Yeah. What do you think, Tucker? Is Minshew the starter right now?
Yeah, I just changed it kind of recently, but it's really kind of up in the air. That one I actually like the best of any of the bets because I think that O'Connell has the best chance of winning it out of like the rookies. Like, not that he's a rookie, but
yeah. Out of the rookies,
like
not that he's a rookie. Yeah, his second-year player.
Out of all the the top betted ones.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like it for value because we don't really know exactly. Like, I feel like the odds for Darnold to start, like, I think that the odds, it doesn't really make sense to me that Darnold is less likely to start than Minshew.
Yeah, Sam Darnold currently for the Vikings at minus 140 to be the starter week 1. JJ McCarthy at plus 115. I don't know. Jason, what do you think about that one in particular?
That's definitely a wait and see. I don't think there's value on either side yet. It was very clear that the Vikings had a plan and a target for Sam Darnold. They proved that because they were willing to wait in the draft and not jump up to get JJ McCarthy. So at some level, they were comfortable with Darnold being the starter going into the season. And if they would have taken and traded up for Drake May, May's probably going to sit for a year. So I think they're very comfortable with Darnold. That being said, this team is now a JJ McCarthy team. And O'Connell's going to have that guy ready to go. He's got a ton of weapons. I would expect that Darnold's probably going to start the first half of the season, and then McCarthy's going to get a shot at it because they're probably not going to be very good. But day one starter, I think the odds are pretty fair right now for it to be Darnold as the guy.
All right. Other odds that I'm seeing right now for teams and their starting quarterback, who will it be? We got the Broncos, Patriots, Giants, Steelers, Seahawks. Which one do you want to go to, Jason? Which one are you feeling?
Yeah, the full hammer for me here is Jacoby Brissett to be the week 1 starter for the Patriots. I think there's absolutely no shot in hell that Drake May is the week 1 starter. So even at minus 250, like you look at some of these other odds where there's like a quote unquote guaranteed starter, Seahawks minus 600, Pittsburgh with Russ minus 700. I think that the New England number on Brissett should be somewhere close to there, maybe 500 or 600. So at 250, this is a full blown hammer for me.
I totally agree as well. It's like he's going to start, so it should be a lot higher odds.
Yeah, I mean, I guess the only question is if Jacoby Brissett ends up getting hurt in training camp, right? Will they go ahead with May?
That's right. So,
yeah, who else do they have there with Tucker
on the quarterbacks?
Joe Milton.
Just Zappy.
Zappy's still there. That's right. All right, so I don't know. Would they start Zappy if Brissett would down over May?
That's the question. I don't really know. Like, as of yet, it could be, I guess.
Yeah, but here's how this show works, Tucker. I throw out a question and you give an answer on just what you think. I know you don't. I know you're not on the Patriots, so I'm not asking for any insider info.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I feel like they play May, just because of when you take someone that high, like that's kind of what people will want to see. It just you're kind of want to just see what you have in him, I guess, at that point when you don't have your starter. But I don't know if Zappy will be on the roster week 1. So
yeah, the most confident that DraftKings, I'm looking at the DraftKings Sportsbook right now, the most confident starter that they have listed here on odds is Russell Wilson minus 700 for the Steelers. And we got Justin Fields at plus 450. Wilson's getting old. I mean, there's a good chance he gets banged up. He gets a good chance. I don't know. I kind of like those plus 450 as just a long shot, Jason.
So I think that this is the books cleverly trying to steal money from the public because they know no one's going to lay money on Russell Wilson at minus 700 unless you're a sharp. Everybody loves Justin Fields, especially the social media people who are more likely to bet this. And
everybody who owned him in fantasy.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I think there's absolutely no chance that he's the week 1 starter at all. I mean, unless, obviously injury. That's it. Russ has been already called the week 1 starter. When they traded for Justin Fields, they told him that Russ is the week 1 starter. Russ is the week 1 starter. So, and the NFL is banking on it because week 2, the Broncos are heading to Pittsburgh to take on, or the Steelers are heading to Denver to take on the Broncos. So they definitely know what's up.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. Anything else that we're missing here? Do you want to touch on the Giants, Seahawks, Broncos, Jason?
Let's see. Daniel Jones minus 425. I mean, he's probably going to be the starter as long as he's healthy. Geno at minus 600. Seattle, he's going to be the starter as long as he's healthy. Denver's probably the interesting one that they're maybe trying to snake a little bit more money out of here. But I have to believe that Bo Nix at minus 425 is going to be their starter. Sean Payton's quote-unquote golden goose. And he's 24 years old. And they drafted him with the 12th pick. He has to start right away.
Right. He had more starts than any other quarterback in this draft class, didn't he?
Yes.
More
than any other quarterback in college football history.
That's right. That's what what do you think, Tucker? Any chance that Bo Nix doesn't start in Denver?
Yeah, probably not. Like if they had someone like Minshew, or they had someone like that level, or still had Russell, I mean, then it's like, oh, they could start, the veteran over them, but like they're not going to start Stidham or Zach Wilson over him, I don't think.
All right, great. All right, well, we're going to move off of the starting QB odds. Not a lot more to talk about there. Just going to do a quick ad read before we move on. Here we go. Are you ready for a touchdown of laughs and a hole-in-one for your bets? Tune in to the Steffi Small Show, where football meets fairways in the most hilarious way. Get your fix with pigskin predictions and PGA picks, including the infamous Lady Boner bets that'll have you cheering and jeering. That's the Steffi Small Show on YouTube. All right, moving on to the Stat Leaders Futures. We're going to start with the most regular season passing yards. We have Patrick Mahomes plus 500, CJ Stroud at plus 600. That just seems way too rich for my blood. Stroud going into his second year, just really the books playing off of a lot of love coming off of his rookie season. Dak Prescott at plus 650, Jared Goff plus 800, Tua at plus 800, Joe Burrow plus 850, and Matthew Stafford and Kirk Cousins at 14-1. Any of those that you like, Jason, or is there another number a little bit down the list further that you'd like?
So I did a little research on this yesterday, and I kind of decided that the only ones who I would actually bet on would be the top 5 teams in passing percentage last season with a returning head coach / offensive coordinator and a returning quarterback. So you have continuity and you pass the ball a lot. So that basically led me to Joe Burrow, Rodgers, Mahomes, Trevor Lawrence, and Stroud as my options there. Trevor Lawrence, you got issues with wide receiver. CJ Stroud, I just can't buy the full hype that the market's kind of putting out there right now, which led me to believe that the value.
He's second favorite right now.
Yeah,
to Mahomes.
A little bit too high. You can't really take Mahomes here, even though he's a good shot every year. So Rodgers at plus 2,200 and Joe Burrow at plus 850 would kind of be my targets right now this far into the offseason.
Joe Burrow was the one that I circled as well, because if he can stay healthy and with the extra receiver that they added in the draft, I like that passing game a lot.
Yeah, man, you don't have Joe Mixon in the backfield anymore. It's Zach Moss.
Right.
So I think they're going to throw the ball, really air it out this year. Big season for Jamar Chase, I think, is coming up. T. Higgins potentially too. So I definitely like Burrow probably the most of him or Rodgers.
Yeah, at plus 850. How does the scheme work there, Tucker, with that? I mean, are we feeling good about the Bengals passing game?
Yeah, especially with Higgins coming back. I mean, they also lost Boyd, but he's kind of not what he once was. Yeah, I feel like he's a good bet. It's just coming off the injury last year as well. I mean, I would have said Kirk Cousins, but he's just risky because of the coming off the major injury. But like if you're looking at passing yards like last year, I mean obviously it's not the same situation, so it's a lot riskier. But last year for quarterbacks who played more than half the season, I think he played 8 games. He averaged the most passing yards per game. I know until he got hurt, he had the most.
Okay.
So that's kind of a fun one, but it's much riskier at plus 1,400. My favorite is Brock Purdy at 2,500, because I think he was 4th last year and he played 16 games. Like he was above Mahomes, and they haven't like lost any passing weapons. They only gained Ricky Pearsall, so I think he's like a really good value like for a long shot bet.
Yeah, Brock Purdy 25-1. That does sound interesting. Jason, what do you think about that one?
I actually like the angle on both. Look, the only issue I have with Purdy is they just run the ball so much at such a high clip that is he going to get enough, throws in there in order to do it? You're basically depending on the yak situation, which is obviously what Shanahan creates, but a little bit more variable than I would like in this situation. Kirk totally makes sense to me. And if we talk about different futures, I like Atlanta in a lot of places this season. I would prefer to play Kirk as MVP over leading in passing yards, just because I think that you're going to get a bigger number, better value there. But I can totally see the Kirk one if everything clicks in Atlanta.
Yeah. Are we overlooking Tua, the last year's winner? Added Odell Beckham Jr. as a third receiver. Obviously, nobody liked how the Dolphins finished the season last year, but they look like a real powerhouse at the beginning. Should we at least sprinkle a little bit on Tua at plus 800? Jason?
My view on Tua has not really changed that much. If there were a passing yard leader at the first quarter or the first half, I'd be way more inclined to bet Tua. It just falls off the second half of the season. I think the other thing is Miami has to do even a better job. They established the run game last year, but like it needs to be even more and more and more based on how that offensive line looks, how they've played down the stretch. So I think they're probably going to limit Tua a little bit in terms of how much he's airing it out during the course of the season. The other part, if I want to be really cynical, is he's got a contract coming up, and I'm not sure that they want to see him go out there and throw 5,500 yards on the season. Another reason why they may run the ball a little bit more. Now, it's very cynical. I don't know if that's real or not, but I don't know if they want to pay him the Jared Goff plus premium to bring him back for another 5 years.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. Anything else on passing leaders before we move on to rushing leaders? All right, let's move on. We have at the top of the board for most regular season rushing yards, Christian McCaffrey, last year's winner at plus 275, Jonathan Taylor plus 600, Saquon Barkley plus 650, Breece Hall plus 800, Derrick Henry 12-1, Kyron Williams 12-1, Bijan Robinson 12-1, Josh Jacobs 2 years ago the winner 16-1. Jason, you like any of these that I named, or are you going farther down the board?
This market is so difficult for me to peg just because injuries at the running back position throw a wrench into everything. So I probably would avoid this. If you're going to do it, I would say take a super long shot here. The one that popped out to me was James Cook plus 4,000 on the Bills. They're definitely going to lean
so glad you mentioned that. That was going to be one that I mentioned too.
Okay, cool. I mean, they're going to lean into that running game. You're going to be in a lot of 12 personnel with 2 tight ends out there. Their offensive line's pretty solid. The problem with the Bills is like Josh Allen's going to get a lot of those rushing yards too. So they have to like even overly commit. They have to be at a 60% clip with the run, which they may be this year. But the way that he played down the stretch last year and the way that they changed that scheme under Joe Brady, Cook seems like the one that could rush for 1,300 yards and potentially win this crown.
Yeah. What do you think about that, Tucker? How do you like the personnel and scheme there in Buffalo for?
Totally agree.
Cook?
They're trying to do a kind of run first offense, sort of like they kind of started doing last year with their 12 personnel, 22 personnel too, with their but they're going to be running the ball like crazy. And I mean, just going by last year, James Cook, I think he was fourth rushing yards, and he's just, I don't get why he's not up there in odds. He's just extremely good value.
Yeah, absolutely. I like that too. Anything else? Let's see. What do we have? Any thoughts on Travis Etienne at 30-1? He had a great season last year, Jason.
Yeah, I get the angle on Jacksonville. Like, they're going to have to be more of a run-heavy team because of their personnel at wide receiver. Probably would be good for Trevor Lawrence to run the ball even more. He doesn't have a whole lot of competition in that backfield. So I get the angle. It's just his injury concern with me. I would never consider betting Etienne.
Yeah. Someone that might get overlooked just because he wasn't that impressive last year as he was in seasons past, but he was still the second in rushing yards behind Christian McCaffrey. Derrick Henry, he's won this award twice, 2019 and 2020. He's sitting at 12-1, got a new team in Baltimore. Any love for Derrick Henry in Baltimore, Jason?
Lamar runs the ball too much. I think it's that simple. I just don't think that he's going to get the volume that he got in Tennessee. So, I think he'll be more effective per play for sure in Baltimore, but he's 32, 31. Like, he's pretty old at this point. If he gets 200 carries this year, I'd be, mildly surprised. I think it'll be less of a workload, but it's going to be a lot to handle come December when he's got some fresh legs.
Yeah. Yeah, no. Okay, so Kyren Williams came out of nowhere last year and went into third place with only 12 games played in rushing yards. He's sitting on the board at 12-1. Tucker, what do you think about Kyren Williams here?
Yeah, I mean, it's just tough because, I mean, just going into last year, we thought Akers would be the starter, and then he just comes out of nowhere, and then it's just dominant, so many rushing yards every week. And yeah, I mean, it's again another injury thing, and then also that they drafted Blake Corum. So it's kind of just in a McVay's offense, it could just be, oh yeah, Corum's the one now, like by week 2. It's like, I don't know. It's like I don't have tons of confidence I have lots of confidence in their offense and their scheme, and so I don't know how much of it is Kyren and how much of it is that it's McVay's offense.
Yeah. No, that makes sense. Jason, any other names you like there? Or you want to move on to receiving leaders?
Yeah, let's go to receiver. I don't really have anything else for running backs.
All right, here we go. Most receiving yards in a season. Last year's winner, Tyreek Hill at the top, plus 600. CeeDee Lamb, plus 700. Jamar Chase, plus 900. A.J. Brown, 10-1. Amon-Ra St. Brown, 11-1. Justin Jefferson won this 2 years ago, 11-1. And Puka Nacua, too much love for Puka, I think, here, 14-1. Jason, where are you going with this?
Well, we talked about Joe Burrow, so Jamar Chase kind of immediately pops to the top as like the under plus 1,000 that I would kind of target there. Going down the list a little bit, I think the favorite one that I would point out here would be Drake London at plus 1,800. Kind of going back to Tucker's point earlier about Kirk Cousins throwing the ball a lot. I think that, London showed a pretty damn good receiver last year with, one of the worst quarterbacking crews in the NFL. And now he's got Kirk. Kirk has shown that he can kind of lift up a guy like Justin Jefferson into winning, winning this bet. I would not be surprised to see Drake London have a 1,600 yard season here with 10 plus touchdowns. So he would be one that I'd be targeting. Another one down the list, I guess a little bit. I'm a little scared of this just because of the competition in the house. But Nico Collins finished like 7th last year at plus 2,000. That might not be too bad. He's clearly Stroud's number 1 guy, but they got a lot of mouths to feed there, especially with Diggs there. So probably wouldn't pull the trigger.
I was going to say, is he still clearly the number 1 guy with Diggs there?
Oh, yeah. I'm pretty confident he'll be the number 1 for Stroud.
Yeah. Because I was going to say, I think it is interesting to note that Stephon Diggs, if you want more of a long shot, 22-1. He won this award in 2020. not that many years removed from it. He did get reinvigorated when he moved from Minnesota to Buffalo. Is there anything alignment with there moving from Buffalo to Houston where he might be a little more reinvigorated? Obviously, CJ Stroud is the second favorite to lead the league in passing yards. Any thoughts on that, Jason?
I wouldn't take Diggs at all, based on the second half of last season where he was terrible. I think he's very much the second wide receiver in this room, maybe third if Tank Bell.
I think he's third.
Yeah, if Tank Bell comes back healthy, he could definitely be third here, which could create some drama down there in Houston. But no interest on Diggs.
All right, Tucker, any names you liked on that list that I sent you or that we already talked about?
I agree with the London one for really good value there. And then also, I think Amon-Ra is also pretty solid. He's up there in odds there, obviously, but he's like clearly Goff's guy, like that he goes to. I mean, there's no receiver that comes close to him on their team besides, I guess, Bowers. If you're counting him, or not Bowers, sorry, Laporta.
Yeah, they're the same.
Same.
But yeah, I say Amon, but I kind of like the value of London better.
Yeah. Let me throw this one at you, Jason. Your hometown LA Rams. We have Puka at plus 1,400, and then Cooper Kupp, who won this 3 years ago, at 28-1. A little too much disrespect for Cooper Kupp after just one down season.
There's probably some disrespect for him in the fantasy football draft market. I don't necessarily think that he belongs in the conversation here unless Puka got hurt and then you're feeding Cooper as the number one again. Maybe he backdoors it that way, but that's the only way that I foresee this happening.
Yeah. I don't know, Tucker, any thoughts on Puka being like a one-hit wonder? I mean, he was drafted in the 5th round. He kind of came out of nowhere. Is there any chance that he kind of falls flat on his face this year?
Yeah, I mean, it's part of it was Kupp not being there for the start, and it could just be that. I think that he'll do fairly well still, but he's just the odds. It's just like I'd rather bet on London over him. When someone that's like the clear only number one there. If we knew Kupp wasn't playing or something like that, then it's a little bit better, but. It's just plus 1,400 is steep.
Yeah. As an NFL show, we are contractually obligated to at least mention the New York Jets in this discussion. We haven't mentioned a Jet yet. Garrett Wilson, plus 1,600. Jason, with Aaron Rodgers coming back and maybe staying healthy this year, any love for Garrett Wilson?
Garrett Wilson was on my list of guys that could potentially do this because, like I talked about, pass percentage wise, they're going to be up there again. And the competition isn't great. Like Mike Williams is there, but he's probably going to be injured for 4 to 6 games this season. I could see it with Garrett Wilson, but you got to have Rodgers healthy and fully dialed in. I'm just not sure that's going to happen behind this offensive line that got better, but is still aging.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. Anything else on receiving leaders or anything else you want to throw out on stat leaders for this? All right. Oh, we have another spot for a commercial. And guess what? We didn't sell any. So, Jason, do you have anything you want to plug? Your Twitter, your baby pictures, anything?
Oh, my God. I wish I had something to plug. I'd have nothing to plug.
All right. Well, Jason has an Instagram. I can't remember. What's your Instagram handle?
Gold 24, which is all pictures of my child.
Yep. Very cute pictures of his baby on his Instagram handle. So just in case you're looking for baby pictures. All right. Let's move on to the NFL awards futures. We'll start with Rookie of the Year. Since we are a scouting show, we got to talk rookies, Ourlads Scouting Company. We've got Caleb Williams as the favorite at plus 175. Marvin Harrison Jr. plus 650. Jaden Daniels plus 650. JJ McCarthy plus 800. Malik Neighbors 14-1. Xavier Worthy 16-1. Bo Nix 16-1. Drake May 18-1. You're throwing away your money if you bet on Drake May. I feel like just based off of what we've already talked about, there's no way he's starting week 1. So, Jason, are you going with any of those names I mentioned, or are you going farther down the list?
So I'll kind of go through my theory here. 7 of the last 11 have been wide receiver or running back. But usually in a situation where a quarterback is involved, a quarterback wins. The most recent examples being Herbert winning it over Justin Jefferson, and last year Stroud winning it over Puka. So with 6 first-round quarterbacks this year, and at least probably 4 of them having real playing time this year, you have to think that at least one of them is going to have a season worthy of being the rookie of the year. So I'm kind of already going to eliminate all of the running backs and wide receivers from this market, which means I'm down to the 4 quarterbacks that are going to start this year, which is Caleb, Jaden Daniels, Bo Nix, and potentially JJ McCarthy. So I think that the 2 that are worth value, like Caleb's the favorite, probably for obvious reasons. He probably has a really good shot at winning this thing. Jaden Daniels would have to have probably a big rushing season in order to win it, but it's possible. Mm-hmm. His play style probably lends itself to not making it through the season completely healthy in year 1. Fair. Bo Nix at plus 1,600 and JJ at plus 800. Those, to me, are the big values on the board. So that's kind of where I would be targeting this early in the offseason.
All right. Tucker, any thoughts on that one? Would you target Bo Nix or JJ McCarthy?
Yeah. So first, I would agree with the assessment. Like, it's a really strong quarterback class, so it's probably going to be a quarterback. Yeah, I kind of like Nix or McCarthy. I mean, my favorite bet is probably Jaden Daniels, just because I think that they're going to be throwing it like to me, it's kind of similar to the situation that Stroud went into last year, where it's like they don't really have that much supporting cast or anything. But I think if he can just kind of run a one-man show there and take over with Terry, he could easily do super well stats-wise.
Yeah, he has Scary Terry, which is more than CJ Stroud had going into the season, or so we thought.
Well, yeah, we didn't know, like, as it went on, we're like, oh, they have Tank Dell, Nico Collins, and now they have Diggs.
Yeah.
But at the time, it was like, didn't have amazing supporting cast. Yeah, I don't know. I like him. I think the odds are a lot better than Caleb. Like, I prefer the Jaden Daniels bet over Caleb Williams, but Caleb Williams certainly has a better supporting cast, though, with Keenan Allen added there and Romo Dunze.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think it's worth putting some money on Jaden Daniels at plus 650 because I think he has the most potential besides Caleb to put up like great stats this season. If everything goes well and he stays healthy, which I know is a big if with his slight body size in the NFL, but do like that if, this is gambling. So why not? But let's just take a shot on that one. Any other names you like, Tucker, on that list or maybe farther down?
I mean, I think Bo Nix is good value too, assuming since we kind of agree, we think he's going to start week 1. I think it's just better odds than McCarthy. Like, I don't really get why McCarthy's that high because it's possible he doesn't start, for half the season. And I don't know if he'd win Rookie of the Year if he doesn't have that much playing time. So Bo Nix should have an opportunity as well, certainly, and Sean Payton as the offensive guy there.
Yeah.
I guess
go ahead.
All right, really quick. So I guess my angle on McCarthy is like, let's assume that he wins the job week 1. What do you think his odds would be? Because it's plus 800 now. I have to think they'd be like somewhere between 400 and 600 just because of that supporting cast and having O'Connell. So that was kind of, I thought there was just some value in there.
That makes sense. Yeah. If you're assuming he's going to win the starting job, then it would be reasonable, I think. Yeah.
I agree. Yeah, that is good value at plus 800 if he does win the starting job. That will definitely move, and he would be more of a favorite than Jaden Daniels based on his supporting cast. All right, Defensive Rookie of the Year. We've got Dallas Turner plus 400, Laiatu Latu at plus 550, Quinion Mitchell 11-1, Jared Verse 11-1, Terrion Arnold 12-1, Chop Robinson 13-1. This tends to be an award won by a lot of cornerbacks and pass rushers, and that's who is at the top of the list with those odds. What are you going on this one, Jason?
Yeah, so I was kind of doing the same math you were. 4 of the last 5 have been edge, 3 of the last 9 have been cornerback, so those kind of take out everybody else. I happen to think, based on the last 5 years, that unless a cornerback plays out of his mind, that it's probably going to be an edge rusher. And you're looking for first round prospects. So that basically puts us at Dallas Turner, Latu, Chop, or Verse. Given those, I'd probably take a flyer on the last 2. The Rams with Jared Verse could definitely be a guy that could have 10+ sacks this season. See value in doing that. He's going to, in Miami, Chop Robinson's going to have a lot of playing time. Like, they need bodies on the field. Is he a guy who can get 10, 12 sacks this year? I'd probably rather bet on that than not getting as much return on betting Dallas Turner, who is not going to be the number 1 edge rusher on that team with Grenard there. And then Latu probably has a really good shot to come in and have a big year, but I'd just rather get the value on the other 2 at the end.
Yeah. Along those thought lines, let me throw out more of a long shot to Darius Robinson at 30-1. In the same light as you just mentioned, Chop, he's going to need a lot of playing time. The Cardinals are going to need him to play a lot of snaps, and he is versatile as an edge rusher and can play defensive tackle as well as a big boy. Any thoughts on just throwing a little bit of money on him? 30-1?
Yeah, it's the same idea. He's a round 1 edge prospect, and he has long values. I just didn't like I don't like the system that he's going into. It was more of a personal thing about how I think he fits in Arizona versus anything else. But, Gannon's a good defensive mind. Maybe he'll be able to turn him loose in a way that I don't think that he's capable of.
Yeah. Tucker, any thoughts on Darius Robinson in Arizona?
Yeah, it's harder to see like how exactly he fits, because he's a versatile kind of a tweener, and we don't know exactly what he'll be playing. I mean, he could be playing more in the interior. It'll definitely move him around, but we don't really know exactly his role yet. I agreed with the top 2 odds there are Dallas Turner and Latu, and they kind of are both going into right now. I have them both listed. They could certainly win a starting job, but right now I have them both as their number 3 edge rusher on each of their teams, because the Colts they have Kwity Paye and Samson Ebukam, and they're both probably going to start week 1. Certainly Latu will play a lot, and then same with the Vikings beating Grenard, and then they have Van Ginkel there too, who will play a significant number of snaps. Whereas for the Rams, Verse goes in and he's starting probably their top outside linebacker, and then Byron, I guess Byron Young from last year is good too, but and then Chop Robinson, it kind of just depends on the health of Chubb and blanking on his name, Jalen Phillips.
Yeah. All right. Well, Tucker, you are an Iowa boy. Any love for your Cooper DeJean at 20-1?
Yeah, he could be good. Yeah. I mean, I guess I haven't really considered him, because
I thought he was your favorite player ever.
Yeah, it's just he could be playing a lot of safety or nickel, and it's not as sexy of a position compared to a lockdown outside cornerback,
Yeah.
So I might like Terrion Arnold or Quinion. I would probably maybe like Quinion Mitchell better there for the Eagles, being across from Darius Slay. But yeah, again, we don't really know exactly what his role will be on their team.
Right. It could be a cornerback if they have a breakout season, as Jason mentioned. A couple of more long shots to throw at you. Nate Wiggins at 22-1 and Kool-Aid McKinstry at 25-1. Jason, any interest there, or are you just sticking with pass rushers here?
I think that the way to play this is pass rushers, just because it's basically about counting stats. So
yeah,
seeing sacks is a lot easier than trying to predict interceptions, which is basically when you're going to have to win this award, unless you come in like Sauce Gardner and you were clearly one of the best 4 cornerbacks in the NFL, or top 6 or whatever you were your rookie year. it's just harder to see. So no, I wouldn't do McKinstry. Wiggins, because of how good of a defense he's playing on, if he comes down and he's like a full lockdown corner, maybe he would get the attention required. But it's just so hard to see those paths that I probably wouldn't do it.
Yeah.
Yeah, Wiggins is 20. Like, it's possible. I mean, he very easily could not start. I think that he could, but it's possible. It's just they go with Brandon Stevens and Humphrey on the outside and Arthur Mala as nickel, and Wiggins could be slowly eased into it. And then same with who's the other
Kool-Aid McKinstry.
Yeah, Kool-Aid. The Saints. He's going to be more going like next year. Like Paulson Adebo and Lattimore are going to be their top two outside corners, and they're both very good.
Yeah.
So I don't really love betting on him either.
All right, Jason, since you're the guest, I'm going to let you pick where we go next. Would you like MVP futures, offensive player of the year, defensive player of the year, or coach of the year?
Let's go with defensive player of the year.
Defensive player of the year. The leaders for the odds, Micah Parsons plus 500, TJ Watt plus 550, Nick Bosa won it 2 years ago plus 700, Max Crosby plus 700, Myles Garrett, last year's winner, at plus 750, and Aiden Hutchinson 10-1, and last year's defensive rookie of the year, Will Anderson Jr. at 20-1. Jason, which way are you headed?
So again, I just wanted to do this because it piggybacks off the conversation we just had. This is a pass rusher award at this point. Since 2011, 11 pass rushers have won one cornerback and one linebacker. So that's kind of where I would go. And the only one that I thought there was value on was kind of like the edge of that tier break there of the best pass rushers in the NFL and a guy who hasn't won it before. That would be Aiden Hutchinson. Also kind of angling for a new deal here, a long-term extension. Everyone else on the Lions has gotten paid. He's going to get paid after this year. If he goes out and has a 18, 20 sack season, he's going to be the most paid defender in the NFL. So I think there's value in there. I saw a number at 12-1. That was the number I was kind of targeting there.
All right, great. Yeah, that's a good thing to mention. Make sure to shop around on these books because these futures can vary wildly. Tucker, any thoughts on Aiden Hutchinson making the jump in Detroit?
Yeah, I think that's certainly a fair prediction, and it's better value than the top five. I mean, it's like the top five. It could be any of those guys easily. Like, there's an argument for all of them. Hutchinson has a little bit better odds there. I do kind of like Will Anderson at plus 2,000 is kind of nice. It's just that he has Danielle Hunter there too. They're both in the Texans, so like it's it could easily be one or the other that ends up being the dominant one, or they both just cancel each other out, and there's not really one that is going to be getting all the stats.
Absolutely.
I have a question. Yeah, I have a question. I haven't actually researched this, but do we remember a guy in their second year winning defensive rookie or defensive player of the year? I feel like they always take that jump in that like third or fourth year where they really win this award.
That is a good question. I don't remember. Tucker, do you remember?
Just so often it's Aaron Donald, so it's like it's like I don't
know Aaron Donald and JJ Watt when I was looking back.
Yeah. So you might even have to just like not count those two guys and look at it and see like how the voting was for second and third year like edge rushers.
Micah came close. He came close as a rookie and then last year, so he's probably the equivalent. I don't know if Will Anderson can have the sort of impact that Micah's had, and Micah still hasn't been able to win it. So, But I like in terms of a guy with the amount of talent as an edge rusher on a really good team that could stand out, I totally get the Anderson angle.
I want to move to the comeback player of the year award because it's such a weird award, and it's hard to predict who's going to win it. But it has been a quarterback the last 6 years, and there hasn't been a defensive player to win comeback player of the year since Greg Ellis in 2007. TJ Watt is sitting at 50-1. Any chance that we get a defensive player for comeback player of the year, Jason?
I just did this math yesterday. Like the last 6 have been QB, 12 of the last 16 have been QB, 15 of the last 16 have been offensive. So I just kind of made this simple. I'm only taking quarterbacks. Like, it's a quarterback league. It's a quarterback award. A guy almost died 2 years ago and still couldn't beat out Joe fucking Flacco. So no, I'm not taking a defensive player here.
Yeah, and just how many quarterbacks got hurt last year too. Like,
yeah,
is insane.
the list is kind of outrageous. The amount of quarterbacks that are coming back who would be eligible for this award.
Yeah. Aaron Rodgers at plus 100 for this. No value there. Joe Burrow plus 200. Kirk Cousins plus 500. Anthony Richardson plus 750. Russell Wilson 12-1. Deshaun Watson 15-1. Like any of those, Jason?
So I'll kind of rule them out one by one. I think that the media has fully turned on Aaron Rodgers. Unless they go like 13-4, I think it would be very hard for him to win this award. Cousins, great story, great PR. They draft Michael Penix. If he comes out there and slings it, I think that he's big time value to win this award. Burrow too, well, like plus 200, terrible odds though, so I probably wouldn't bet it. This is a really good award to bet in season because it's so variable week to week. So I'd suggest people hold their money back on this unless you're taking long shots. Russell Wilson, probably not. Herbert, along with Harbaugh, maybe you can see a story there, but there's so many other quarterbacks involved. He doesn't have the best story. Deshaun Watson's not fucking winning any awards ever, so that's off the table. And then like a guy like, if Darnold came in and started the whole season for the Vikings, he would have value. Justin Fields, if he ended up being the starter in Pittsburgh and they went and made the playoffs, he could have value. And then the one injury guy who, did not really have an injury, but could have a good comeback story, I don't believe in it, but the value on Bryce Young is kind of crazy if he came in and had an excellent second season.
What are the 50-1 right there?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't believe in that at all, but that's an interesting long shot.
Yeah, I don't know if I see it, but it like the storyline is totally there for like a full redemption arc.
I like that. All right, Bryce Young, 50-1. Why not throw a little money on him? He's got the same odds as TJ Watt, a defensive player, and as we mentioned, it's never a defensive award. Jason, before we move on, anything else that's burning a hole in your brain that you want to throw out on awards?
Ooh, I'll throw them through two quick MVPs. We talked about it a little bit earlier, but Kirk Cousins at plus 3,500. And Jared Goff at plus 4,000 stuck out to me as long shot values that I would kind of dabble in right now.
Ooh, like those. Tucker, how about you? Anything that's burning a hole in your brain you want to mention?
I wanted to ask Jason, did you have an opinion on any of the coach of the year, or is that just too much like high variable bet?
It's pretty variable. I probably wouldn't play the market just yet, but I did write down two names that were of some interest to me based on how this award usually goes. Raheem Morris, given their schedule and how good I think Cousins can play in that offense, if he gets the defense to kind of rise, they win that division. They win like 11 games. Him at plus 1,200 seemed to be something that could stick out. Also, people seem to absolutely love him. So just a good story with the media and voters. And then this is a personal favorite of mine, given where they are in the AFC South, but I think that Shane Steichen can win this award if Anthony Richardson turns into a top 10, top 12 quarterback and they win that division. I think that at plus 1,600, he's a pretty good value right now.
Actually, awesome. I totally agree with those two. I think Dave Canales could be a good one too. So similar to the Bryce Young comeback player of the year thing. If they can really turn it around with him, then I see kind of what they're getting at there with those odds.
You know what's kind of funny? Those are almost a parlay because if one of those wins the award, there's a good chance the other one's going to win the award too.
Exactly. Yeah.
All right, well, moving on to our next topic. But first, we have another quick ad. We have Get the Winning Edge with Ourlads Depth Charts, your playbook for success. Updated by the Duke of Depth Charts, Tucker Moss. This is your ultimate guide to who's playing and who's not. Don't bet on any game until you've consulted the most reliable depth charts in the game. Know who's playing before you bet. Ourlads Depth Charts. Moving on to the Super Bowl odds. We have Kansas City Chiefs at plus 550, the 49ers plus 600, Ravens plus 900, Lions 12-1, Bills 12-1, Bengals 13-1, Texans 16-1, and Eagles 17-1, Cowboys also 17-1. Jason, where are you going with Super Bowl winners?
I haven't made a bet on any of these. I'm not sure that I want to, but gun to head, we talked about Atlanta a lot. That's probably a place that I would consider starting at plus 2,200. I don't foresee them actually winning the Super Bowl, but in terms of value, okay. The team that I really like here is probably going to be Cincinnati at plus 1,300. We talked about the comeback season for Joe Burrow that I think is possible. Their offense being fantastic. I think their defense is solid enough. Kind of got to fade the Chiefs, although they're going to end up in the Super Bowl regardless. So maybe it's a worse bet to make a play in the AFC. But those are kind of the two that jumped out to me.
I had the Bengals circled as well. If Joe Burrow can come back healthy, I really like them. You mentioned the Falcons. Tucker, that's your team, the Atlanta Falcons. Would you bet them plus 2,200?
Yeah, it's just hard for me. I can't. It's the bias. I can't bet on them because it's just like, I don't know. It seems like it's good odds where they're at. Like, I like it at that spot. It's just that it's tough as a fan to like really
too emotionally fraught for you.
Yeah.
Jason, I'm sorry. Was there any other teams you had on that list for Super Bowl winners that you liked?
There's a couple teams on here that I would say have some value in terms of I think they're going to make the playoffs, and kind of anything can happen once you get there. The Rams at plus 3,500. That's a team with a really rock solid offense, an excellent head coach, a young emerging defense. Like, it wouldn't be that surprising if they made the Super Bowl. So plus 3,500 there is interesting. And then you look at a team that could just jump up and surprise everybody. I'm like the biggest Anthony Richardson fan there is. I have no way of seeing them getting through the AFC, but at plus 6,000 with the ability to hedge once you come playoff time, I think that Indianapolis is probably a decent way to play it.
Ooh, I like Indianapolis at plus 6,000. That's a good one. Tucker, any other teams you want to throw out there on that list?
Yeah, I mean, I was going to say I agree with the Rams because, like, last year McVay proved like how good they are at really getting the most out of their team, like on paper, they had so many guys who had not played that much who were getting significant snaps. I didn't think that they were going to get very many wins just because of the state of their roster. And then it's just like, and they didn't have a first round pick, obviously. But then their rookies are all doing fantastic in their first season, and they're just getting the most out of every player. My only concern with them is just losing Raheem. So like how the defense, and losing Aaron Donald as well, obviously. Just how much the defense takes a step back is the question. But I feel like the Rams, if once you make the playoffs, anything can happen really. So I think that they're a good bet, like to make the playoffs. In that case, like the value is there for them for sure.
Well, since we're talking Rams, they have the second lowest odds in the NFC West to win the NFC West. 49ers are at minus 195, Rams at plus 330. Any love there, Jason?
Absolutely. I wrote it down. Plus 330. I like that a lot. There's a long history of Super Bowl hangovers. So I could see the 49ers getting off to a slow start, the Rams going, 11-6, something like that, and winning this division by a game over San Francisco. Totally in the cards. So yeah, plus 330. Those are really good numbers. I know San Francisco is good, but this Rams team is pretty rock solid.
Yeah. Any other conference winners or division winners that you want to jump to next?
I got quite a few on the division winners.
Let's go.
All right, so we just talked about them, but Indianapolis plus 340. I think that they're a better team than Jacksonville is right now. I don't believe that Jacksonville should be second in this division. I think it's probably 55-45 with Indianapolis versus Houston, with Houston being the 55% there, chances to win this division. So at plus 340, I think there's a lot of value there. I think that I think people were underestimating just how good Anthony Richardson could be in this offense healthy, with the pieces that they have, with that offensive line, pretty good young defense with some vets. I think they could be a really, really good team. So plus 340 in the AFC South for Indianapolis definitely is intriguing to me. AFC North, Cincinnati plus 165. I'm way down on the Ravens this season. I don't think that they are going to make the playoffs, which is another bet that we can talk about in a second. And Cleveland, I think they're going to struggle still a little bit with the Deshaun Watson factor. I don't believe in Pittsburgh going more than 9-8 this season. I think Cincinnati has a chance at the 1 seed in the AFC at like 12-5, 13-4. So
okay,
yeah, plus 165 there. I really like that in that division.
Yeah, and you can bet on the Bengals to win the AFC at plus 700 as well. Not bad. Anything else? The division leaders.
I like. I wanted to mention the NFC South. I'm a Falcons fan, but I wouldn't bet on them to win the division with the odds. I'd rather.
Yeah, they're at minus 130 right now.
I'd rather bet on the Bucs at plus 300, because they didn't really lose much. They lost their OC David Canales and they lost Carlton Davis, but otherwise they pretty much brought back everybody else. The Bucs are well coached and have really good players. I mean, they could easily win the division, and then Falcons are a wild card or whatever. I feel like they're reasonably good value. Yeah.
All right, Jason. Any other names you got?
I wrote it down for every division. Buffalo or AFC East, I would wait until mid-season because Miami's going to jump out to a hot start, and then we don't know what they are down the stretch. The Jets, it looks like their schedule, which is coming out tonight, their strength of schedule isn't that hard, but they have like a crazy first 11 weeks on their schedule, so maybe not a great buy early in the season. I think that buying on Buffalo or the Jets mid-season, probably good value there. NFC East, I'm kind of fading Dallas this year, so Philly's probably decent at plus 130. NFC North, I really like Detroit, but like Green Bay sitting out there at plus 210, that's a really, really good young team. I'm just scared of buying into the hype of late last season, but I would lean Green Bay there. And then
I had that one circled. Packers, like the way they finished the year.
And then the AFC West, you might as well just take the free money on Mahomes at minus 225. Like those numbers could be minus 500. It doesn't matter. They're going to win the division.
Yeah. Yeah. No love for Harbaugh taking over the Chargers and rallying the troops.
I love my boy. I love my boy, Justin Herbert. But no, I mean, they're a really young team. They're rebuilding. If they go 9-8 this season, like that's a huge win for that franchise. They're not competing with the Chiefs this year.
All right, great. Well, we are going to wrap up the show soon. But Jason, you mentioned that you have some bets on missing the playoffs.
Yes,
or what other bets you wanted to do? Let's just start throwing them out here.
All right. Chicago to miss the playoffs plus 105. Those odds are way too juiced up. I know that they have a good defense and some playmakers, and Caleb's good, but that's a tough division. Like if they go 8-9 this year, 9-8, they're going to be happy. I don't think they're making the playoffs. Green Bay, yes, minus 190. Baltimore, no, plus 260. I think the offensive line issues are going to be huge, and I think that team they're going to have big time issues all over the place. Jacksonville to miss the playoffs, minus 120. Indianapolis, yes, plus 160. Rams, yes, plus 115. Cincinnati, yes, minus 225. And Dallas, no, plus 180.
Dallas missed the playoffs. I like that.
I think they got a lot of issues, a lot of animosity building in that clubhouse with no one getting any contract extensions. I don't think that anyone's feeling comfortable. Mike McCarthy's a lame duck head coach. We know how things go down.
You're not believing in the Ezekiel Elliott return?
No, but he's probably a great 13th round pick in fantasy somewhere.
Yeah, exactly. Any other bets you want to throw out there?
No, I think I exhausted what I have right now.
You're good. Thank you so much for bringing all that. Tucker, you got any bets you want to throw out there or questions you want to ask Jason?
No, I think I'm good.
All right. Well, thank you guys so much. You can follow Jason on your Twitter again.
At JasonGold24.
At JasonGold24. You can't follow Tucker on Twitter because he has yet to create one. One of these days, we're going to get Tucker on social media. He's too scared of it right now. Thank you all for joining us. Please be sure to, thanks for tuning in to Ourlads Football Gambling Show. Please like this video, write comments, subscribe to our YouTube channel. Also, check out our podcast across all podcast platforms. I'm turning this show into a podcast if you want to listen to it later. Thanks to Tucker for joining me. Appreciate our guests so much. Jason Gold, thanks for all your insights. Remember, you can reach out our dedicated audience by buying an ad on our live stream or podcast. Just email team@ourlads.com to get started, and stay tuned for more winning picks. We'll be back next Wednesday with more gambling show. And I don't have the outro lined up. There we go.